Welcome to the Gamers Inn. Come on in, pull up a chair next to the fire. It looks like you've had a long journey. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and joining me as always is my co-host, Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, we're back.
We are. Show. Yeah, last week was kind of hit and miss. We did live coverage of the Nintendo Direct event, which unfortunately, due to what I thought was my capture card, but now might actually be a Windows issue. I don't even freaking know. The audio issues were ridiculous on the video end. So apologies to everyone who was trying to watch the stream. It's pretty bad. I hope it came out better on the other end on the audio recording, but
I think it did. I think it did. Like the one piece of feedback we got was pretty solid. It was, why do we hate the 3DS? We don't hate the 3DS. Jocelyn hates the 3DS. I love my 3DS.
I don't even
I'm joking.
Dislike my 3DS so much. It's just one of those things where especially now that I have the Switch, I don't have a lot of room for my 3DS, you know, like just in my gaming life. And especially like I've been playing another mobile game this week. And so when you factor in the Switch and the phone, and especially where the 3DS is a Nintendo property, it's not even like I can only get Marios and Zeldas and Pokemons and stuff on the 3DS. Like those are all going to be on the Switch. So the reasons for being excited about 3DS are now few and far between. It's not that I don't like the 3DS. It's just that it was great when I got it a few years ago and it filled that hole, but now the hole's being filled by other things. So
it's one of those things where the 3DS had its prime and they are just continuing. I will give credit where credit's due, or Drelfear in our Discord. So if you're not in Discord, you should go there because there's lots of people talking about video games. bit.ly/TGI Discord. He was just saying that, you know, and we all know this, that Nintendo is supporting the 3DS because there are 60 plus million, I don't know how many, I think it's even more than that. There's many units out there, much more than the Switch, and they can't produce the Switch fast enough, so it makes sense to drip feed the 3DS for people who want more Nintendo experiences. And we're going to talk about one of those that was mentioned in the stream, and the reason we didn't cover the 3DS is we had technical difficulties. We started just as the Switch news was starting. So if it seemed like we were sliding the 3DS, it wasn't us, it was Jocelyn's computer.
Yes.
So, but we are going to talk about a 3DS game today that was mentioned in the Direct, and we were excited. But I'm curious though. I sent you a text about this South Park game, and I didn't realize it was actually out. So I'm curious. You were already playing it at the time. What's it like? Is it good? Is it a good mobile version of a South Park game?
It definitely scratches my South Park itch while I wait for the next actual AAA PC title to come out. So it has obviously all of the South Park aesthetics. It has the, you know, South Park humor, which, you know, is hit and miss sometimes with some people. So, you know, like if you like South Park, you'll like the humor. If you don't like South Park, you won't like the humor. Like it's very par for the South Park course. But I'm having fun. But there's definitely some things about it I dislike. So
it's free to play, right?
And it is free to play, and I'm not going to rag on the normal free to play stuff because so far, and I've played probably like 3 hours or so of Phone Destroyer, which, by the way, it totally does destroy your phone's battery. So
goodbye battery.
Yeah, goodbye batteries. But I haven't really been, although they take you, while they're taking you through the story and the tutorial and stuff, they do introduce you to the store, but it's not like constantly in your face, like buy things, blah, like you can't play without buying stuff, and like constantly flashing in your face or getting in the way of things you want to click or anything like that. At least not as much as I've noticed so far. So
good.
Maybe I just haven't progress. I think I'm in the third world now, so I feel like if it was going to be obnoxious, then it would have been obnoxious by now. So it is free to play, so there's always that. There is a sort of deck building element to it. There's an RTS element to it. There is PvE and PvP. And that's kind of where my first problem with the game comes up, is that in order to progress the PvE story, you have to PvP. So it's like you get to a certain point in a world and then Butters shows up and he's basically like, you need to defeat a real life opponent to pass through my gate or whatever. Like it's themed as like the first world is like cowboys versus Indians, and then the next world is in outer space, and like so there's a whole bunch of cool South Park themes, and you see all your favorite characters essentially like wearing dress up costumes, and even the parents in some cases, which is really funny. I don't want to give too many away because I don't want to spoil anything, because some of the reveals are hilarious, like actually laugh out loud funny. So I don't want to spoil any of those for anyone who does want to play this game. But having to play in the PvP system, so far I haven't really enjoyed it. So the way that the game works is like there's like your character on one side and then your opposing character on the other side, and you summon minions in between, and each of the minions has their own attack and health and powers and abilities and class and all that kind of stuff. So it's right from the get-go pretty complicated. Like if you aren't familiar with like RTSs and MMOs and card games, it's going to be a really steep learning curve. So you kind of have this like energy over time that like you are constantly gaining energy back, like it's a refillable bar. And then each card in your hand costs a certain amount of energy to cast. And then when you cast that card, it's either a spell or it's a minion, and the minions are all the characters from South Park. And then you put them somewhere on your half of the battlefield, and then they progress across the battlefield and then either attack the opposing hero or attack the opposing minions, depending on, again, like card text and stuff. And there's aerial units and there's ground units and there's melee and there's range. Like there's all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like I said, there is a card component, which means there is a deck building component, which means that there's a card collecting component, which means that's where your money comes in.
And you can, yeah. So I've been playing. We didn't talk about it on the show because I kind of like it flared up and then burned away pretty quick, which was my time with Titanfall Frontier, which was a similar free-to-play card-based collecting deck building game. But when we talk about a deck in Titanfall Frontier, it was more of like a hand, like a very hefty hand of cards. It wasn't really a deck, and they would kind of deal you one of the 8 that you had selected. It's more of a team, I guess, but they are cards. So in this, is it literally a deck? Like you're doing 30 cards, or is it just a handful?
It is either 10 or 12. So
about like I guess that yeah, I mean that's a good handful of cards. And do you feel like, as of the one thing I have that pops into my head from a free-to-play standpoint is, does it reward you enough, like front reward you with enough cards and enough incentive to keep playing outside of the PvP?
I was going to say, I felt, and so far I have not had to buy any packs.
Right.
So I felt like it did give you enough to at least progress through the PvE portion. But then as soon as you go into the PvP portion, and this is where like I 100% understand people's problems as new players in Hearthstone now, because when you go into the PvP thing, it's like it might pair you up against somebody excuse me, who has a same or similar record as you do. Right. But they might potentially have, just from luck of the draw, more powerful cards and more powerful minions. And that's kind of unfortunate, because at least in Hearthstone, once you play your minions, you then choose like how to use them. Whereas in this game, it's like once you play your minions, they like auto attack stuff, and some have special abilities that you can click on, but you don't like direct them like you would like a pack of Marines in StarCraft or something. Like it's RTS, but they have guided movement because it's still on a phone, and it would be really hard on that small of a playing field to still like direct each of your individual movements just with tapping. Like I can understand how it would be too complex. So because they are kind of like auto everything except for their big super main ability, the more powerful minions are just basically going to win, like right. It's not the same as Hearthstone, like I said, where I could have a bunch of cheap, crappy minions, and then you could have one good one. But if I say I'm going to send all my minions into your face, and then, you know, you can only kill one at a time with your big good one, then, you know, like, it kind of balances itself out if you know how to strategize. And maybe I just haven't played enough to know how to strategize properly. But at least so far in the PvP matches that I've been in, and I think I've done 7 or 8, because you have to win. It's not just play a PvP match, you have to win. So you only have to win one to progress the story, but both times I've had to play multiple times in order to get my win. So I think I've won twice because I've completed 2 Butters kind of roadblocks. So I've won twice, and I think I played like 7, maybe even 8 times to get those 2 wins. And the best strategy so far seems to just be like use all of my super low enemy minions and just like throw them onto the board. Like anytime I tried to think about any kind of strategy or anything, it just didn't work. Like I just got totally overwhelmed because the other guy was throwing all his little stuff. So it's like if you both throw all your little stuff, then you can actually take a second to think. I don't know. I didn't love the PvP part because it does like weigh so heavily on how much, because you can also upgrade your cards. So that's the other thing. So we could both have a Cartman, but my Cartman might be level 1 and his might be level 2 because he's upgraded it, or like, so when it comes down to that, then I'm just like, well, we even had the same card, but you know, I didn't have as many, because at the end of each PvE level, you get to open 3 of 10 lockers. And when you open a locker, it has a piece of loot in it. So if you just get a whole bunch of coins, that's kind of crappy. But if you get, you know, a new card and an upgrade item, then, you know, like very quickly, just by luck of the locker openings, you can be the same level as me, but have better characters. So I felt like there was a lot of things in the PvP system that could weight a deck in one way or the other based not on skill at all. And unlike Hearthstone, I didn't feel like I could make up for it by making good choices with how I used my kind of crappier minions. So it took me a long time to win the PvP battles that then were blocking the single player story, which I thought it was like, I mean, it's South Park. It's very similar to like Stick of Truth, like that, like the 2 warring factions of kids and everybody's playing make-believe and dressing up, and you know, it's super cute and fun and South Park. But yeah, like, I don't know, I wanted to see more of that because I really liked the story. And they do have some really cool things that they've done where they're breaking the 4th wall, kind of, where like there's points where like Cartman calls you. So you have like, I like literally didn't know what was going on at first because like my phone started ringing like a real phone call, and I was like, wait, what? Oh, answer?
Weird.
Yeah. And you're in this like, because the whole thing is like you're playing on your phones, and you're the best one at playing on your phone. That's like the gimmick. So you're in this group text chat with all the other kids. You never say anything, but you can see like all the text messages coming in, like real text message notifications. Like it's got some really neat like uses. Like they don't pretend they're not on the phone. You know, they embrace it. They do. Yeah. They very much embrace the platform. So I think they did a good job, and it doesn't feel really thrown together or anything, but it is free to play as all get out, and that it's not flashing in my face making me spend money. But because they've put those PvP walls in there, that might as well be a paywall because you either have to spend a lot of time just hoping to queue into someone who hasn't spent any money and is just as clueless as you are, or you're going to be spending money to get through those PvP walls. So, and they do have a PvP rank system, so you can just go in and play PvP battles. You don't have to play in the single player. You can play PvP anytime, and then as you rank up in PvP, there's different rewards, cards, heroes, like all that kind of stuff, the outfits, because of course there has to be cosmetics in a free-to-play game.
That's how it works,
yeah, so there's cosmetics, and there's, you know, all different kinds of currency and cards you can earn and stuff. So there is a ladder system within the PvP, so you can do either or. But yeah, I mean, I I like South Park for the most part. I think sometimes they cross lines and sometimes they're really dumb, but in general, like 75% of the humor really catches me off guard sometimes and is actually laugh out loud funny. So I like any South Park experience that they put out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the I'm not in the camp that despises South Park because I know there is that camp, and I
It's a
know
very
pretty much.
divisive IP for sure.
Yeah, but like I'm more in between where I respect South Park, but it's just not my style of humor. It's not that it's crass, it's too punishing. It's too like it's just so you're hurting that person so much. I can't do it. Like you're so mean. Like I just but like it's not like it's like you'll never ever. I watched South Park. God, it's been around for so long. I remember taping it on VHS.
Yes.
like at midnight and then being pissed that the VCR didn't last through the night. I have vivid memories of watching the Jurassic Park one. Anyways, yeah, I was curious about this because I saw it pop up on a Facebook ad, and I'm like, I can't believe this is out. Why isn't A, Jocelyn talking about this, and B, why isn't anybody talking about this? It seems like a pretty big deal, because this is made by an Ubisoft studio. And anyways, do you feel like it's gonna like bridge the gap really well? You've got maybe about a month before the big title comes out, mid-October. So is this something you're gonna keep playing, or is this something you just wanted to get a taste?
I think that this is something I'm going to keep playing, mostly just because I don't really have a mobile game right now. I didn't get into Mario and Rabbids as much as you did. So I need something for on the go, and South Park, it's stupid South Park fun. So
good. I might check it out then, because I appreciate the IP, and I do dig it. I know it is funny. So
I'd like to hear your thoughts, just as someone who doesn't play a lot of Hearthstone, because I found like I was able to wrap my head around, minions and deck building and what I should be doing when, based on my knowledge of Hearthstone. Like that definitely helped me kind of get ahead and beat a lot of the early levels really quickly, because I had that card game understanding, because that's a huge element of the mechanics of South Park. So I'd like to know, you as someone who doesn't have such an in-depth understanding of like Hearthstone and Magic and all that kind of stuff, I'd like to know what you think, and if like the learning curve is steeper for someone who isn't so entrenched in the Hearthstone world.
Yeah, I'll check it out, because honestly, I was this close to installing it that I realized that I already had way too much on my plate for video games, as you already can tell. We already, we trimmed it a little bit to begin with, but no, I'm glad you picked it up, because I was curious for sure.
So you played another Destroyer game. Oh no, wait, Damn, I got the name wrong.
It's all good. There are destroyers in there. It's true.
I don't know why I thought it was War of the Destroyer. It's War of the Chosen. I guess I just had Phone Destroyer on my brain when I was doing the overlay. Damn it.
It's all good. No, it's funny. You flash back to E3 when they announced both XCOM 2's expansion and Mario plus Rabbids both being tactical games, and me saying, well, War of the Chosen doesn't have Mario in it, so I'm by default going to play Mario and Rabbids. And I love XCOM 2. Like XCOM 2 I played, it's like my Civilization, where I go all in. It's all I play. I let's get this out of the way. I do save jump, or whatever they call it, or save. I always go back to I load my save when one of my characters dies. I'm one of those people.
Yep.
Casualties are going to happen, and I'm fine with that. But as long as it's not like my core units, I'm cool with them like coming close to death. But I don't want them to die. So if they do die, rewind and whatnot. I realize some would see that as cheating, but you know what?
It's something that's available to you in the game. I don't really know if it's like cheating. Cheating would be like hacking your game so that you could do that.
I'm taking advantage of a system that's there. And honestly, if I wanted to stop myself from, which is something I am curious to do, is do, once I beat the main campaign, is go back and do what's called an Iron Man mode, where it just disables. There's no saving. There's no auto saving. It just saves after you complete a mission. There might be bookmarking, like in Fire Emblem, where you can stop playing, but as soon as you start playing again, it deletes that bookmark. But I'm not doing that, because that is punishing, and it brings your fun level down a little bit when it's your first playthrough. But anyways, I was playing Mario and Rabbids,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about it a few weeks ago, and that it wasn't very there are tactics, but it wasn't really pushing you to use those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fast forward chapter 3, in which I died probably 10 times.
Is that the
And
haunted world?
yes.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say that's right around the time where I noticed the uptick in difficulty.
Yeah, so it's the haunted world, and the first map is like the enemies are teleporting, the
Mm-hmm.
enemies are just, using better tactics. And this is classic Nintendo where, they take their sweet ass time, like ratcheting up the difficulty, and then all of a sudden it gets to the point where most of the youngins drop out, and it's
Mm.
like, okay, now the core gamers
Here's the
will
real
know your
game,
stuff
yeah.
now. Here's the real game that should have kind
It's
of
so
popped in.
it feels really exponential because it feels like the first couple levels are very much like this, and then all of a sudden it just goes shaboom in difficulty level.
Yeah. So I figured if I was going to be having to use my brain, I might as well play the game that's been staring at me for about a couple weeks. And I know John Jagger had been just playing it incessantly, like a War of the Chosen, all over his Twitter, all over his Twitch, talking about posters. So every time you do a mission, you can create these posters, and then you can like take them out of the folder and like put them on Twitter. And it honestly, and the way he described it was. The new expansion. So what they do with expansions, like Civilization, they layer on an extra couple of fresh coats of paint onto the strategy layer. So
Mm-hmm.
they borrow some stuff from Fire Emblem, where your characters, the more they battle together, they can form bonds,
Oh,
and then those
cool.
bonds can then evolve as you continue to fight together. So it's rewarding those players that are smart enough to keep their people alive.
Mm-hmm.
The longer they survive into your campaign, the more likely that they're going to be rewarded either through the ability system or through this new bond system. So that was really cool. The other thing they added was sort of a Shadow of Mordor element with the Nemesis system. So these chosen are the assassins that have been created by the elders, which are the main bad guys, and they have a control of the territory. So imagine Risk, and then the assassins or the chosen each have like a section of the world. So on the main map,
Okay.
you're like running around scanning, doing missions, and you'll get a warning pop up saying, this area is controlled by the assassin, and there's a chance that the assassin will ambush you on your missions. She won't show up all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, she usually shows up when it's like the least convenient for you,
Obviously.
because that's how strategy games work. And basically, when they show up, they have these powers, and they sort of like poke at you from afar. So the assassin will be stealthed and will just kind of hone in on your squad and then ambush you. And then there's the warlock who will from afar create these like glowy zombie things that can explode. And he can do that from across the map and have these things come after you. I have not come across the hunter yet.
Mm.
That's, I guess, one of the downfalls to this game is that I'm about, I'd say maybe 20 to 30 hours into the campaign. Like I've been playing a lot for the last 2 weeks. It's actually been really unhealthy. Obviously, everyone's still alive here, so we're good on that front. But I just been playing a lot of it. Anyways, I haven't come across the hunter yet. I don't know what his special abilities are, but I do not look forward to finding them. The other thing they added were these sort of, you remember in Civilization where they had the covert missions where you could sort of send your dudes out on missions, and it was basically just a window pane, and I'm trying to remember what they called it. They were like sabotage, or they were like spy missions.
Oh, yeah, the spy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so the spies, and there's these 3 pockets of resistance, the skirmishers, the reapers, and the Templars. And they're sort of like super classes. So like in World of Warcraft, you have like what do they call them? They're not super classes. There's an actual
Hero classes.
hero classes, yeah. So they're kind of like hero classes in that, you have your normal snipers, but then you have the Reapers who are very much about stealth. And the Reapers are always in stealth until they take a shot. And then every time they take a shot, there's a chance meter of them being revealed.
Hmm.
and all of their powers are based around sniping and being
I've
concealed.
played enough PUBG to know if you take a shot, you're instantly revealed, period.
Well, that's the difference between this game and PUBG is that
The fact that they can hide again after taking a shot is bullshit, Ryan, and you should protest.
Well, the thing is, like, it's funny you mention that because usually you do get revealed when it's the least convenient for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're noticing a trend here, but the odds are stacked in the enemy's favor. It's that meme you probably see every time there's a new piece of XCOM content, is that it's a photo of someone standing beside an alien and has got the gun clipping through the head, and it's a 60% chance of hitting. It's kind of the joke, and there are times when you just want to like quit the game because you have a 90% chance of hitting and killing an enemy that if you miss is then going to devastate your team. And then you take that shot and you miss and you're just like, you know, because there are kids present. So I've been all in, playing a lot of War of the Chosen, and enjoying all the new layers of the strategy layer, and then also of combat. They've added zombies. In terms of new enemy types, there's a whole new faction called the Lost, and they're basically like humans that were infected by the alien invasion goop. It's like this green stuff, and they turn into zombies. And they have an interesting mechanic where they will appear every time you have an explosion go off, and also you have a chance to, every time you take a headshot and kill them, you have an immediate next turn. So if there's like 5 zombies that pop up, and you have one dude who has a really high aim, you can just take them all out as long as you can reload your gun. So it's an interesting balancing mechanic, and they've gone in and you would think adding all this stuff to an already existing and quite beefy campaign. They didn't remove anything. This is all layered on top of the old campaign. So there's
okay.
Yeah, and you have to manage all the stuff you managed in the original XCOM 2 campaign, but alongside that you have to keep an eye on, you know, your covert operations. Each of the resistance members have like an influence layer. So depending on how much work you've done for them, they'll give you extra perks, kind of like little card perks that you can slot in. So how you find and kill the Chosen is through these resistance by doing missions to find the Chosen. And I actually killed one of the Chosen. You kill them when they pop onto battle, but they have this sort of like immediate respawn where when you kill them in that battle, they're gone from the battle, but they're not gone from the war. They resurrect. But then using the resistance members through the covert actions, you can actually track down their stronghold and then storm the stronghold and then kill them for good. And that was actually really satisfying. Sort of how in Shadow of Mordor, when you kill your nemesis, it's really satisfying. And they have like strengths and weaknesses. So the longer you leave them on the playing field, the stronger they get. So the longer they're on the meta strategy layer, they're getting stronger, they're learning more about you, and they have an end goal to capture you and kill you. So if you leave them too long, like if you're doing all the other stuff in the game, they will become so strong that they'll not only cripple your income, but they'll cripple, they'll actually attack you and kill your base, which is a very tough mission. And again, I had to reload and then go kill them because I was just thinking around scanning, and I'm all in, and I don't know how it's going to end, but I'm really enjoying the addition to the game. So if you really liked XCOM 2 and you're looking for an excuse to get back in here, this expansion has layered enough on top of that main campaign that if you put 60 hours into the main campaign like I did, you're going to be fine going back in. Like you can skip some of the text that pops up because it's a repeat, but there's enough new stuff in there on top of the old to kind of
to reinvigorate it.
Yeah, reinvigorate. Like it's not new again because it's the same game with an extra layer of fun and content. But it's, like you said, reinvigorates you to kind of keep on pushing through. So I highly recommend War of the Chosen if you loved XCOM, because it's just more great stuff. I'm actually surprised. Like this is not at all like Enemy Within, the expansion they added to the first game. This is like above and beyond. I don't know. I don't know how they kind of packed all of this in just like a year and a half since the XCOM 2 actually came out. It's phenomenal, really good.
That's good. I mean, like, and you mentioned 60 hours. There's a reason why I have a phone game on my list this week, and that's about it. Is because I literally have just hit my 60-hour mark in PUBG. So
Yeah, it's funny we haven't talked about that since it came out, but
because I've literally been playing it like so much, and I don't want to just be like every week PUBG, PUBG, PUBG.
But see,
that's what I'm playing though.
We should talk about it because I played it for the first time since we first played it together, and I'm like, oh my god, there's weather. What is this UI? Also, how come we're in first person? So I think once that as they add to that game, I think it's worth checking back in because as someone who hadn't played it, it was interesting to discover all these new additions. But maybe that's something I'll get some more time and we can talk about it next week because, as you said, Shadow of War is 3 weeks away, so we need to.
Yeah, I know, and that's the other thing is that I don't really want to spend too much money on games this month because October is stacked. Like I'm looking at picking up the new South Park game. I'm looking at picking up the Shadow of War and the new Assassin's Creed game, as well as Mario Odyssey, which I just pre-ordered, actually. I pre-ordered, I hope Matt's not listening. I pre-ordered not only Mario Odyssey, but also the 3 amiibos. So, Ryan, I blame you.
Sorry. That's my fault. I did actually send you the link and said...
You did.
And you know what? I also pre-ordered all 3, and I remember saying, and it's probably recorded on multiple podcasts, that I was not going to get all 3. But
I was only going to get Bowser, but then I was like, you have to have the set, and what if like they sell out, and then I can never get them? Like, they're really cool and they're really unique. I think
they are, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, and they are a full complete set together. You know, like it's not quite the same as I would say. Like I don't really want the amiibos of, say, like all the heroes from Zelda, because it's just kind of like, you could kind of look at those and they just are what they are and they're characters from the game and stuff. But like Mario and Peach and Bowser are such iconic characters to like the Nintendo world. They're characters I've grown up with. They're not like brand new for one game that I kind of liked a little, and had it not had the Zelda name on it, I wouldn't have bought it at all. So I think like them being dressed up in different costumes, and especially where the Bowser one is so good.
Like, you know what?
Bowser in a white tuxedo.
To Ryan 3 years ago, whenever this amiibo craze started, because you're right. Like there's this level of these amiibos that they're putting out where I'm more appreciative of the one-off little sets. Like I wasn't going to do this, but the Metroid pack right here. I haven't opened it yet because I've been so busy, but it's when they do these little one-offs where there's like 1 or 2 or 3 in the set. Where buying them and supporting the franchise or the game or however you want to justify it is just a nice little extra, you know, where before you'd have to drop like $150 on a giant collector's edition. And
it kind of felt like making my own Mario Odyssey collector's edition. Like, yeah.
Exactly. And I pre-ordered all 3 and I knew that was going to happen. But like I look at other games that are coming out, like they also put up the Fire Emblem amiibo, and it's like I already have I'm not super into that those characters specifically. I like the franchise, but the characters, they're fine. But I don't need another 2 Fire Emblem characters. I know a majority of these amiibo that are just to the right of me, I'd probably say a quarter of them are probably going to exist in some fashion on my shelf for the remainder of my video game tenure or life. However, I don't want to get morbid here, but but a lot of them, like, and Ashley, if you're listening, you just pause. But like a lot of them are probably going to go in a box. Let's be realistic here. How many links do you need? You know, how many Marios do you need? But these Mario for Odyssey are very unique. Like, I don't think you're going to get to buy another, wedding themed Mario amiibo.
Right?
Throwing that out there.
Not to mention, right now we don't actually have a Mario or a Peach, so you can use them with Mario and Rabbids because
you
we
specifically don't have a Mario and Peach.
Yes, yeah. In the house right now, in order to unlock the stuff for Mario and Rabbids. we don't have Mario and Peach. So now we're going to have Mario and Peach. Now we'll have Mario and Peach and Yoshi. And then we'll have 3 out of the 4 unlockable by amiibo things in Mario plus Rabbids. So they have a function too. And I'm sure they're going to have a function in Odyssey itself. So.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's a good point. I don't have a Peach either. So check the box. Yeah, I'm excited.
I don't have a Peach or a Mario or a Bowser. So.
And this was sort of the thing, like if you look at the original Smash run, they're pretty generic, and past Ryan should have looked at that Bowser amiibo and thought there are probably going to be better Bowser amiibos that come out after this. Sure enough, there was one that came out like probably 3 months later. I don't have that one because I only need one. Well, now I'm gonna have two.
I love when you like interrupt your own argument there. And it's just, I only need what? I only need 2.
Well, it's like
when you buy them years apart, the first one doesn't count anymore.
I don't think having 2 Bowser amiibos is going to be
Ryan justifies
the worst of my amiibo buying habits. There are probably worse examples within eyesight. I can see. So like.
We're just not going to talk about them.
I'm not going to talk about it. Every time we talk about amiibo, it's a slippery slope, folks. So just be careful. If Ryan sends you a pre-order link, just,
don't click it.
Be very careful. So yeah, amiibos, looking forward to it. They do look really cool. I mean,
they do. But anyway, so all of that to say that my October is going to be super, super stacked with new games and big expenses and all that kind of stuff because I don't know. October's the new November.
October is just no, that's true. November, now looking back, November was always like the second week of November. There was just everything came out.
Well, because of Black Friday, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, to have like enough new games out so that they had them on shelves. But now it's like, who cares about Black Friday? Like every day is a new sale. So let's just put it online. But no, Assassin's Creed, I talked myself out of it before the show, but then I remembered it's set in Egypt, which...
Yes.
Cool. So, damn it.
You're going to get it. I know you always say you're not going to, and then it's like, I get texts on like Thursday mornings. Joss, I bought it.
It's funny. It's true. That's exactly probably what'll happen. And I'm glad that the tables have turned and that you have purchased 3 amiibos. Like I said, it's slippery slope, so be careful.
But I mean, I can't even remember the last time I bought an amiibo. I think I got the Zelda one or the Link one on riding the horse when we got the Switch and when we got Breath of the Wild before I'd actually played it.
I think probably I remember.
Yeah,
talking
and
about
previous to that, I don't even we got Yarn Yoshi, but again, that's a really cool like one of a kind type of an. It's squishy. It's not even like hard plastic. It's super cool. So I mean, I feel like I've been very responsible with my amiibo purchases up until now, and I still think that all of my Odyssey purchases are, it's still fine. I haven't fallen down the hill yet. I haven't gone full Murphy. So.
So we're calling it.
Yeah.
All right. It's true. I don't know anybody who's as irresponsible as me. So
I'm still fine with that.
No. Hey, everybody has their thing. Hearthstone packs, amiibos, collector's editions. Like I'm not comfortable suggesting how much money I dropped on Metroid. Like just. Yeah, but
I was gonna say, did you want to talk about Metroid now before we jump into our topic of the week?
Yeah, quickly. Well, I'm probably going to talk more about Metroid next week because honestly, Amazon has just they just do not deliver Nintendo games on time. It's a common theme and really frustrating. But I got it yesterday. I got it Monday. Played a bunch of it yesterday. It is 2D Metroid at its finest, and they've taken the formula of Metroid with the exploration and the finding the little area, the hidden areas to collect like missile packs and other power ups like energy tanks and stuff. 2 things that they've added to this formula to kind of make it just a little bit sweeter is that they have a scan mode. So instead of like going to these map stations and downloading the map and seeing the outline of where you can go, you just hit this thing and it's like a ping, and it's this big blue bubble that comes out from you and then kind of goes out like a sonar, and then it reveals the map around you.
Kind of like as you move. All right.
Yeah, which is at first you're like, well, that seems a little, cheaty, a little shortcutty, but what it does is it's tied to an energy meter, a separate energy meter that is your superpowers. And there's 4
Oh, so you can't just like walk along going like ping 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 ping.
You can't spam it, although if you do use it, sparingly, you can probably do it whenever you need to. I've only had one instance where I've ran out of that special energy, and it was because I had discovered another power. So later on in the game, you can discover up to 4 powers that feed off of the same energy bar. So eventually you do get to the point where you have to be strategic in how often you're pinging. But when you ping, not only does it display the map outline in sort of like this little quadrant, but it also shows you little blocks that can be destroyed. So it kind of like flashes blocks that can be destroyed, and then you use their little missile and see what you need to destroy it. And that's kind of the key thing about Metroid, is that it's always gating you based on the equipment you haven't found yet. So occasionally you'll come to a door very early on that's like, you need the wave beam to get through because it's a little purple door.
Right.
Or you need to use your missile, so there's like this red shield around it. So it's typical Metroid fashion. It's a remake of the Game Boy game. So a lot of folks probably haven't played it for a few reasons. A, it came out like 20 years ago, and B, it was on the Game Boy, so it wasn't like your typical Metroid experience. And the main story is all about, it's the sequel to the original game, and you're leaving the planet from the original game, and you have to destroy all the Metroids on their home planet. Weirdly enough, there's only 40 of them. Seems kind of endangered to begin with, so I don't know why we're bothering, but I'll go and kill all these Metroids. So there's 40 of them, and the whole task of the original game and then this game is to destroy these Metroids, finding them scattered across the world. And the Metroids are more like bosses, so they're not Metroids, they're actually Metroids that have evolved. And so far I've encountered about 3 different variations, but killed about 12 Metroids. So they do mix up the mechanics a little bit as you approach these little bosses, but they do get a little repetitive. I'm a little
so they do repeat, even though they're like each type is always the same. So if you come up upon like a green one, you know what it's going to do versus like a blue one. I'm totally making that up. I have no idea if they're green and blue.
Well, funny enough, yes, there are some green ones, but they're more like it's the type of monster that the Metroid has latched onto and then evolved based on
okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And they've taken this concept from the original game of killing, and I remember it from what I played in the original game, they're straight up just Metroids, and you have to kill them, and you do that any way you see fit. But they're all the same because it was a Game Boy game. But now this is a 3DS game, and they have the opportunity to kind of expand their horizon. So one of them is like this, they float around and they kind of charge at you. And they kind of do some different mechanics. So early on, it's like, okay, like shoot, jump, shoot, jump. Oh, he's dead. Okay, let's move on. But then they introduce sort of a slightly variation of that where he can charge. He's got firepower. So when he charges you, sometimes you're not going to be able to counter him. You just got to get out of his way until he's not sort of glowing with firepower. And he'll drop like, little fire things that light the ground up and stuff. It just kind of mixes it up, and then as you start to encounter this variation and starts to get a little dull, they do throw another one at you.
Okay.
But I have found that they haven't been throwing the new ones at me as often as I would hope. So I'm hoping as the game goes on, it's getting stellar reviews, so I'm hoping as the game goes on that they do kind of mix it up a little bit, and I'm really hoping that it's not just all sub-bosses and that we do eventually get to some different enemies, not just floating Metroids, but but the major thing that they've added that is new to the franchise, which is a melee counter. So instead of like running around and trying to like shoot everything, you can run around and you just feel like a badass because things will charge you. They'll get this little glow, and that's the hint that it's going to charge you. And then as it charges you, just before it hits you, you hit the X button, and then Samus just like swings her gun up and stuns the enemy, and then you get like an insta kill. Basically, you shoot it, and it almost dies instantly. And you would think that would kind of like cheapen the gameplay, but the timing of it is set so well that you don't feel like it's really difficult, but you also don't feel like it's just a win button. And when you pull off enough,
that's good, and that's a tricky thing to do, right? Like, because I know sometimes when they add moves like that, it's just like, okay, I just jam X all the way while I'm running down this hallway, and then I just win, and that feels kind of crappy.
Yep. And there's timing. It's kind of the best way to describe it is the Batman sort of counter button. It's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a thing where if you hit it too soon, you're not going to be able to hit it again before that enemy hits you. And I've actually found the game to be quite punishing. If you miss enough counters or you get hit enough by a boss, you've got like 4 hits and you're done. Even if you've been collecting these energy tanks as you come across them. I've actually found a couple boss battles have taken me out close to like 15 times. I could just be terrible, but the game feels like actually difficult and pretty early on too. So it has that Nintendo curve, but I think the Nintendo curve steeps up a little sooner than I would have imagined. So this is the first Metroid proper game we've had since the Wii. Would have been Metroid Other M, and it wasn't as received very well. And this is very happy to say, like, return to form. Metroid's back. Samus is here. And I hope this sells well because I know we're getting Metroid Prime 4 eventually on the Switch, but I just love the Metroid formula. It's really, really well put together, and there's not many games that do it quite like... It's not even made by Nintendo. It's actually made by a company, I think out of Mexico or Spain. It's Mercury Stream. They did the Castlevania games.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's actually it's really neat actually to see a studio that's been doing these 3D Castlevania games to go and do a 2D Metroid, which are kind of
Castlevania is the one that I always mix up with Wolfenstein. Always.
Yeah, Castlevania.
I don't know why.
Castles and evil people, probably.
I don't know. I literally don't know, but for some reason they always get mixed up in my head.
I think it's castles. Honestly,
maybe it's castles.
Probably it. But yeah, Metroid's really good. If you have a 3DS, you should definitely check it out.
All right, we have a patron ad this week from The Geek Review. It says The Geek Review is a podcast that reviews everything and anything. For an honest consumer review, The Geek Review can be found on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, and at thegeekreview.podbean.com. We would also like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons over at patreon.com/thegamersin. If you would like to support the show, that's the best way to do it. You can also get in on super cool stuff like Game Night, which we are doing tomorrow night on twitch.tv/JossPlays. We'll be playing with you guys, whatever you tell us to. So make sure you join the Discord at bit.ly/TGI Discord to get in there and make your voice heard. And like I said, we should be, cross your fingers, if I can figure out a kind of Frankenstein streaming fix, then we should be able to have a stream up tomorrow night. Might just be a gameplay stream with no cams. Basically what's going on right now is there was a Windows update about a week ago, and it totally broke my XSplit game capture card kind of interface. It's really weird. I don't 100% know what the problem is, but I think it's an XSplit software thing, so I basically just have to wait for an update. So I can use the built-in streaming software that comes with the capture card, but then I can't do things like add an overlay or add a camera. So worst comes to worst, we can do that, I think, assuming it interfaces with Twitch. I actually don't know yet, but
oh, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, and hopefully, we can get something up on twitch.tv/JossPlays tomorrow. If we can't actually stream it, we will still play games with you guys. So make sure you're watching. Again, that is bit.ly/TGI Discord. Make sure you're watching those chat channels to know when to get in and play some games with us. That brings us to our topic of the week. This week, we are going to be talking about the Tomb Raider trailer that came out yesterday. I didn't watch it until today. And the reason for that is, did it come out today? Okay, sorry, I got it mixed up.
It came out like late, like midnight, so our time.
All right.
So yeah, yesterday, today. Sorry, semantics. Go ahead.
my point was, I saw that they put out a trailer for the trailer, and I was like, screw that. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I understand, like, advertising, but, like, movie trailers have gotten to the point where they give away way too much of the story anyway. And now you're doing a trailer of the trailer. And Ryan, you were so nice to point out that at least they're not going to spoil any more of the actual movie. But the fact that there's like teaser spoiler trailers for the teaser spoiler trailer of the movie, like, F you.
Okay, so it's funny. First of all, I want to point out that you got some replies to that tweet, and some of them were like, nicely saying, have you been living under a rock? Because they've been doing this for quite a while, and yes,
okay,
you're right.
Have they been doing, well, they've been doing like way too much information in trailers, and I think that was my mistake with my tweet, is I said like they're going to spoil the whole movie ahead of time, which they have been doing forever. But this is the first time I remember seeing a teaser for a movie trailer. Yes. Like, it's a teaser for a effing commercial. Like, it just...
Yeah, no, I definitely feel your pain, and I know that there are worse things happening in the marketing world. Like, for example, I don't know if you noticed that that teaser for the trailer was a square. A lot of trailers these days are being formatted for Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. So you're not even getting...
I just threw up in my mouth a little.
Oh, don't worry. I mean, like, it happens to the best of us. But like, it's just... It's not even these days, like, they're not even targeting YouTube. And I had some problems with the teaser, and I have some problems with the trailer as well. And it's purely a marketing standpoint. It's how they're choosing to market the movie, whether it ends up being the case or not. But they've chosen this angle, and I tweeted about this morning, and I got some people asking or agreeing or disagreeing. But it was basically like, it's just something about the movie feels off. The marketing, something about it just feels weird, and that they've chosen to just lean into the fact that Lara is this, she's really good at jumping, and she just murders everybody. And I realized that was something that happened in the video games.
And I was going to say, it did feel very video gamey, and it's like, as soon as you go to live action, you lose that suspension of reality, maybe?
I think maybe that's exactly what I was feeling, but wasn't actually saying in my responses, because it does feel like a video game movie, and that's exactly what we don't need. It's not going to convince people to go see the movie if it feels like a video game movie. I think that was the problem with Warcraft, is that they leaned in a little too hard with the video game-ness. And then when you go see the movie, it doesn't feel like a video game movie. It feels like a movie based in the fantasy of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hoping for with Tomb Raider. And a lot of people thought, like, one person was even saying, like, oh, well, she actually looks like a real athletic woman. And it's like, no, don't get me wrong. The casting of everybody is perfect. They nailed every character. Walter Goggins, I could watch him in anything. Yes. And he's the perfect bad guy in this. And he has like 2 lines in the trailer, and he's going to be perfect for whatever role he's playing. Smarmy bad guy from the Tomb Raider franchise, boom. He is perfect.
I love Daniel Wu. And yes. I was saying before this, he is the star of Into the Badlands, which I also really, really like. So, yeah, when I saw him in the trailer, I was like, okay, because I did watch the trailer. I watched it today because I knew we were going to be talking about it. I literally watched it right before the show because I had to, because it's my job.
And you weren't gonna right, because it's spoilers. You weren't.
Yeah, I was just like, screw this. I was done with it before I even started. But then when I saw Daniel Wu, I was like, all right, I'm tentatively back on board.
Yeah, he plays the friend / sidekick, and I think he'll nail the character there. In the video games, he's kind of the husky guy who hangs out with Lara, like her friend. And obviously Daniel Wu isn't husky, but I think he'll play up the the funny, cheeky buddy guy while still being able to load an assault rifle, which again was my main concern with the trailer. Is like, okay, a lot of stunts, I love it, a lot of like falling into water and clinging onto decrepit airplanes and stuff, but just also a lot of shooting, a lot of loading guns and smiling, and I don't remember, like, so the rebooted franchise that this is based on, has a really cool opening 2-hour moment where Lara Croft isn't an adventurer. She's just a young studier of history, and she's going on this expedition. And she's surrounded by people who are like her, and surrounded by people who are, just assholes. And just it's a good cast of characters. And in this trailer, they kind of set her up as like, nah, her father died, and as soon as she's like thrust into this adventure world, she's immediately able to like run, jump, shoot, bow and arrow, dual pistol joke. Like, I just don't.
I feel like, I mean, you have to remember, like, you didn't just watch the movie. I know it feels like you just watched the movie because you watched a 2-minute trailer that might as well have been the movie, but there could be a lot of setup before you get to the point of, all the stuff that she's doing with puzzle boxes and all the stuff that she's doing with all the jumping and the shooting and the, there might be more to the setup of the character that starts to make sense than they showed in the trailer.
My problem is that in the trailer, they show a key moment in the game where she's on the boat and the boat crashes, and you're already seeing her do like the puzzle box. I'm fine with like I can totally see her solving that in a boardroom surrounded by stuffy white people. I get it, but her like on the boat and like the beauty of the game was that when she was in that boat crash, she was vulnerable. She was still like learning. Like obviously it was exponential, and she went from crash in a boat to just killing a bunch of dudes. Like there was a leap of faith there, and she unlocked her cold-blooded skill to take people out meticulously. But in the trailer, they kind of make it sound like there's going to be a scene in the movie where she was trained as an assassin from birth, and I get it. It's
sounds like a montage.
There's going to be a montage, and I get it's a movie, and I get it's a trailer. We haven't really seen it, but in terms of adapting the reboot franchise, I think they've hit a really good mark with it, and it looks like they've done away with the cult, like the hardcore cult of it. Like there was in the first game, there was like this cult on the island. Okay. It doesn't seem like the bad guys in this are a cult, which is nice because it's kind of easy just for there to be a cult on this mysterious island. Like I think that was kind of the weakest part of the first game. And if they're going with just rival adventurer who knows her father, I'm kind of cool with that, even though it does seem equally, cliche and easy to do. But I don't know.
Maybe he's the cult leader.
Maybe Walter Goggins is a cult leader. Kind of good with that.
Believable.
I do want to say though, like a lot of people mistakenly thought that I was upset that Lara Croft wasn't like the big boob Lara Croft from before. It's like I'm glad they did away with that. And honestly, the Angelina Jolie movies or whatever, like they were terrible. And she was a bad Lara Croft, but I'm glad that they went with the reboot characters because I think they're really good. And I'm honestly looking forward to this movie. I haven't really looked forward to a video game movie in a long time. I guess it would have been Warcraft.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Daniel Wu also starred in. So.
Oh, that's right. He was
Gul'dan.
Yeah, Gul'dan. He was an evil dude. Yeah. So now he's playing good dude. So
yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. It looks good, but and I'm cautiously optimistic. And
I'm sure we'll end up covering this on Embrace the Spoilers, so I'm sure I'll have to see it. But I feel so strongly about this that I feel like I need to actually like write the movie studio and just be like, stop this, stop all of this.
The trailers or
the
like
trailers of the trailers, the like just all of the advertising, just stop. Like, and maybe this is like, get off my lawn, you little youngins. I don't know, but I hate it, Ryan. I hate it so much.
The crazy thing is though that personally the biggest culprit that kind of started the trailer of trailers, which was Star Wars, they've actually been very very protective of trailers for Star Wars. I say that even though there's theories that there's going to be a new trailer next month, but I think for such a secretive movie, they've actually been really good to only show trailers that don't really tell you what the story is going to be about. Even though you kind of know.
And those are the kind of trailers that I like, the ones that just give you like a couple of flashes, like the old school, like super teaser trailers. Like that is what a good movie trailer is. gives you shots of the main actors. They give you shots of, you know, like whatever the bad thing is. They don't reveal every single freaking joke in the movie. They, you know, like just, you know, one little zinger, one-liner at the end of the movie or at the end of the trailer is enough. Like the whole thing, 30 seconds long, perfect. Just enough to get me interested, not enough to tell me the whole freaking thing.
Yeah. We got I would probably say based on playing, and you didn't play the original reboot game.
No, I played the second one. So
yeah, and the second one is like straight up, you're a cold-blooded killer and you're really good at adventuring. Go have fun.
Because you already did the whole first game, yeah.
Yeah, and the first, and I don't want to make it sound like the first game's like the first 20 hours are you like learning. It's like, no, there's like 2 hours where you're super vulnerable and you don't know what you're doing, and then you kill a guy and it's like, oh right, I'm really good at this. Exactly how it goes. But in terms of the beat for beat mechanics, like the trailer basically like this is probably the arc of the first 2/3 of the movie, if not the first half. And it's kind of sad when that's the case. And maybe they just wanted to throw Walter Goggins in there and he doesn't appear until like the first half. But it's a little unfortunate that they've decided to they should have focused on Lara's character and her crashing on the island and less like, let's load this gun and shoot it and jump on a plane. Like, I don't know. It seems pretty markety, you know, like they had to throw in the guns.
Yeah.
I know she shoots people, but they didn't need to like show a montage of people loading and buying guns. So I don't know.
So, okay, the Tomb Raider, the 2018 film, is this actually part of a two-parter, trilogy, whatever? Like, are there plans for more in the works? Because like you said, I played the second game. Is this the thing where we think that they're going to go ahead with the franchise? Like, or does this movie cover everything that happened in the currently released Tomb Raider games?
Oh, no. Yeah. So I think this is the first game. So the first movie is the first game. And honestly, like when they originally did Tomb Raider, it was seen as a trilogy, and then they didn't get a chance to make the third one because the second movie was terrible. And then they were going to reboot it with Megan Fox, and then Megan Fox.
Oh, I'm so glad they didn't do that. Whoa, that was we dodged that bullet, guys. I am back on board with this specific, like, trailers be damned. It's not Megan Fox. I am back on board. That could have been terrible.
Trailers are good because Megan Fox is bad.
Because Megan Fox is so bad that I will take them spoiling the whole movie for me in trailers over Megan Fox.
And she hit a rocky road. She kind of shot herself in the foot, and then everyone didn't cast her for a little bit.
Oh my god. I thought for a second, like, because I'm not crazy into like all of the like IMDb or not IMDb. What's the TMZ? I don't even know what it's called. Like the super celebrity gossip stuff. Like when you said, "Oh yeah, she shot herself," I thought that's where you were gonna stop, and I'm like, did you just let me rant for like a minute about how terrible Megan Fox was, and here she shot herself?
It's good to know.
Oh, I thought that was gonna go really bad.
Like every third word that I say, because I was clearly said like, okay, I guess maybe I didn't really explain that very well, but everyone didn't like Megan Fox at a certain point, and she was dropped from the project. And then they brought in, I'm not gonna try to say her name because it's I would butcher it, but it's the lady from Ex Machina who's the main robot from that movie. Excellent film. Go see it if you want to see what her acting chops are like. I think she was. They even say it in the trailer, like she's an Academy Award nominee or something for that role. And anyways, yeah, trilogy. If it does good, I'm sure they'll make more. But I'm sure they've got the actors locked in for a trilogy of movies because that's kind of the standard deal. And they've got 2 games to pull from, and probably a third. There's even talk of a third Tomb Raider game coming out next year after, called like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And they clearly set up a third game at the end of the second. So
yeah,
you got the material, and the material is it sells well. They've set up the Tomb Raider franchise really well. So I think, but is this going to be like, okay, is this the video game movie? Like, are we going to have the same conversation with this movie that we did with Warcraft? And then suddenly Warcraft didn't do so well, and then we're looking for the next one. Like,
I think Tomb Raider, because there already was an Angelina Jolie movie, I feel like a Tomb Raider reboot has potentially a wider audience than just the Warcraft movie. I think within, wider audiences, Warcraft and gaming in general still has kind of a bit of a stigma. But when it comes to like Tomb Raider, I'm sure that there are a ton of people out there who know it was an Angelina Jolie movie and have no idea it's actually a video game. So I think that just because of that, I think Tomb Raider it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah, because
and I think it really. Pardon me?
Well, Angelina Jolie was kind of a big name when she was a big actress when those Tomb Raider movies were. And she's still big now, but like back in the day, like the '90s when those movies were coming out, like she was top billing for a lot of projects. So yeah.
So yeah, I think that the reboot of Tomb Raider as a franchise, I think is probably gonna do fine, and I think it is also a franchise that really benefits from kind of the leaps and bounds that we've come with just CG and motion capture and all that kind of stuff. Like they can do a lot of cool, unbelievable things that would have just been super cheesy when it was Angelina Jolie's time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly, like a lot of the stunts with things falling apart and her climbing and jumping, and it looks really good. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I'm excited about this movie. I think the trailer.
Yeah, the movie looked great from an art and an effects standpoint. So it does seem like they're also throwing a lot of money behind it. So I have no idea how much it costs to make. We probably won't find that out until after the movie's out, but. It's something I'd like to know because it seems like a really big production. So,
yeah, like you've got some big names in there, and you've I think it's probably going to be a pretty penny. Like usually with these video game movies, is they don't try to go all in, and it looks like they're going all in with this. And I'm looking forward to it. I wonder if we'll start to see more video game movies. It seems like we're getting at least one every other year that is worth noting. And I guess this is our next one. So, fingers crossed that they don't screw it up. But like, I think the trailer looks good, and the casting's perfect. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, and Walton Goggins is playing someone named Father Vogel. So.
Oh, so it is the cult.
So it is the cult. Yeah. sorry to burst your bubble.
I'll live. It's Walter Goggins. So, yeah. Although, did you see the uprise of the poster? I'm gonna send you this link. I'm gonna post it in chat. But just quickly, I don't know if you saw this poster, and tell me if you see anything wrong with the poster with spot the difference between the two. The actor Alicia Vikander.
Oh, okay.
So look at the poster, and then I know this is very visual, but a lot of folks probably know this. Do you see it?
No.
Look at her neck. Does it not look like they photoshopped her neck?
I guess.
It was.
Yeah. Now that she's also tilting her head kind of funny, but they always and I get maybe this is the thing, like they always Photoshop women into ridiculous body proportions. So I I'm not really that's a thing that happens.
I know it happens. I don't see how these things make it out of the door because it looks ridiculous. And honestly, it's one of those things that I was hoping they wouldn't do. And I knew they would because I guess sex sells. But I was hoping they wouldn't stoop to that level. But I guess that's like me saying, "Oh, Jocelyn, you're so naive with trailers. Yeah. This is your opportunity to do the same to me."
Yeah. Oh, Ryan, you're so naive. It's to the point I don't even see it anymore because it just happens so often that I just I see movie posters or magazine articles or whatever, and I'm just that's not what people look like. Moving on.
Clearly, that's not what people look like.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't get the shot of her looking back, and they wanted more neck in the shot.
I don't know.
It just looks
because I know
weird.
When I turn backwards, my neck extends by about 6 inches. Got this weird owl thing going on. I don't know.
Yeah. But Swexus in the chat room is making a good point that if the Tomb Raider movie does really well, they're already working on an Uncharted film, and it's based on the young Nathan Drake, which with Tom Holland. So I'm actually looking forward to that one as well. So hopefully this kickstarts a bunch of movies about one dude killing a bunch of other people. Looking forward to it.
Well, I hope that they get I hope Tomb Raider does well, and then seeing Tomb Raider do well where it is based so closely on a video game, and a video game that had a really good story. And when you think about the video game and you're playing 20 to 25 hours to get through that campaign, then you're going to condense all that into like a 2-hour movie. You're going to have some of the same problems that they have taking, books into movies. So hopefully they do a good job. Hopefully it does well. And then people can say like, okay, look, this is what happens when you throw a lot of money behind an action video game movie. And then we'll get more going forward, but hopefully more big budget ones that do things properly. So, I mean, there were a lot of problems with I know the Warcraft movie had a big budget, and I know, there were a lot of problems with it, but I think Warcraft's problem wasn't necessarily not enough money. It was trying to condense too much into a small space, basically.
Yeah, there was some stuff in that movie that they could have thrown out because it was mostly like geek-splaining. Like there's a lot of like lore and geekiness, like we appreciate what you're trying to do, but you don't need to throw all of this in. Like you could have told the same story half an hour less and not lost a lot of people. And
with a couple more scenes to like cut some scenes out, put a couple of other like scenes in to tie a couple of things together, because it did feel really disjointed, which even just after watching the special features and the like 10 minutes of cut footage, the movie made so much more sense. And I was like, why didn't you just leave that 10 minutes in there? But that's a whole other conversation. I think Swexus in the chat makes a really good point that is a good point to kind of wrap this whole conversation up and tie it with a bow. Swex says this could be the Wonder Woman of game movies. If they show it can be done, then we're going to get more. And I really hope that that's what happens, is that, this does what Wonder Woman could have potentially done. The asterisk, Justice League is coming. It may or may not be good, but what Wonder Woman could have done for DC is be like the awesome things, for that franchise. So we'll have to see. But I think that's a really good point, is that hopefully this is like the Wonder Woman and, everyone gets behind this type of a movie, hopefully.
What's your franchise quickly that you want to see made into a movie? I mean, you already got Warcraft, so like, what's the franchise you want done perfectly? I guess, or done well. I suppose nothing's perfect.
I mean, there's always a Legend of Zelda game potentially. Like, I mean, there's not a whole ton of story in those games, so I don't really know.
That'd be an easy one to.
I think that might actually be a good one to kind of translate into, because it doesn't have this like super duper beefy story. It could be a cool franchise to see. Plus, I just want to see like live action Link and Zelda. I think would be super cool. But from a story standpoint, I don't know. You're gonna have to, if you have one, say it, and then I'll try to think of another one.
I think Zelda's a really good one. What?
Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't know why that didn't pop into my head right away. I was trying to think, I'm like, what is like my favorite kind of like story over the past couple of, that.
I think from a purely spectacle standpoint, since you've already mentioned Zelda, I would love to see like a space opera like Mass Effect, or Metroid has actually come on the chopping block a couple times to be made into a movie. But Mass Effect would be really good. I think the beauty of Nintendo properties is that there's enough story to get a game, through the door, which means that you can kind of like, you have a small story that you can tell in a movie, like you can condense it really well. And I think you can make a really good Metroid movie if you wanted to, kind of like Aliens. But Mass Effect would be tough because there's just there's
a lot of story there. And that's kind of the problem with Horizon Zero Dawn too, right? Is that like it took a good 5 to 10 hours of that main campaign just to tell. And I know a lot of that is, you're sitting there reading, or listening to audio logs and all that kind of stuff. So storytelling in video games could be shorter. You could probably condense a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, actually, even if you just like took some of the, like smooshed together all the cutscenes, you might have a 2-hour movie for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, probably. That's the beauty of video games, is that a lot of video games really don't need a movie shot for shot, because you've already got it in there. And I think that's where the Uncharted movie, the path they're taking, a lot of folks were upset that they're not casting like adult Nathan Drake. They're going with young Nathan Drake. It's like, I think that's perfect because you're going to get to tell stories that aren't told in the game and explore a side of that character that we saw but didn't get all there was to tell. So I think
I think that might actually be a really good the kind of comparison is like Tomb Raider is going, it seems like, along the kind of storyline of the first game versus Uncharted that's going to tell us a story we haven't already heard. It'll be interesting to see which one is more well received, Tomb Raider or Uncharted, for that reason.
Yeah, Tomb Raider's path is a little dangerous because I feel like you can fall into a lot of pits with that one. It's the same problem that Warcraft experienced, but yeah, I like both sides of it, and I'm not necessarily for any particular one, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this does. Like this time next year, are we going to get a lot of news out of Comic-Con and whatnot? Nintendo's already said they're looking at their properties, trying to get them out there. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully, it's a good good catalyst for some good properties moving to film.
We have another patron ad this week. This one comes to us from Simon, who says Weekly News Desk is a podcast all about the geek news this week. You can join your two knucklehead hosts, Andrew and Simon, as they keep you informed on movies, TV, video games, and books. You can find them on iTunes or at weeklynews.com. Personally, I hope they cover a really, really good book that I just found that I did not know existed. I went to a used bookstore with my best friend. She came to visit this weekend, and I found a fantasy novel by Stephen King. Which I did not even know that he did. So
there you go.
I can't remember the title of it now, and it's sitting upstairs on my coffee table. So I really wish I'd brought it down to talk about it, because I knew I was like, okay, we have a patron ad and they cover books, and I want to tell him I found a book. But if you look up like Stephen King fantasy novel, Simon, I'm looking at you. Let's get that review because I want to hear it. Because I had never heard of it before, so get on it, Weekly News Desk. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can visit us on the web at gamersinpodcast.com. You can also find us on A Move TV along with other fabulous podcasts, including The Angry Nerd, Into the Nexus, The Angry Chicken, For Azeroth, Embrace the Spoilers, and Heroes Forge. You can follow us on Twitter. You can find me, Jocelyn, at Joss Plays. Ryan is at R. Murphy. And don't forget to follow the show at The Gamers Inn. The video versions of all our episodes can be found on youtube.com/AMoveTV. If you'd like to email the show and let us know what you think about the Tomb Raider trailer, please do so at info@gamersinnpodcast.com. Thanks for staying at The Gamers Inn. Remember, tune in next week. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.